2,000 years ago, this spot was an ancient stone quarry outside the walls of Jerusalem. Today, it marks the center of the Christian faith, the site where Jesus of Nazareth was reportedly crucified, buried, and resurrected. You might expect a sanctuary of quiet reverence, but walking inside the Church of the Holy Sepulchre is a sensory assault. Greek Orthodox monks chant over the sound of Catholic Franciscans playing a pipe organ, while heavy church bells ring out, and rival clergy cross paths in dark, crowded corridors. The building itself is a physical contradiction. Round, monolithic Roman columns stand inches from jagged, pointed Crusader arches. The architecture is a colliding record of the different empires and denominations that have fought for control over these stones for centuries. This entire chaotic structure is held together by a hyper-rigid, centuries-old treaty. It is known simply as the status quo. The Church of the Holy Sepulchre functions as a contested map of rival territories, held in check by a legal framework that dictates exactly who owns what. This floor plan shows the literal lines of the status quo. Every square inch of the church's interior is strictly divided among 6 rival Christian factions: the Greek Orthodox, Catholic Franciscans, Armenians, Syriacs, Copts, and Ethiopians each claim absolute sovereignty over specific rooms, halls, and individual balconies. These borders are aggressively enforced. A denomination can only sweep the floors, repair the walls, or step foot within their designated footprint, often stopping in the middle of a shared room. You can see the consequences of this gridlock in the Syriac chapel. 2 separate factions claim ownership of the room. Because neither allows the other to repair it, the space sits decaying in its raw state as a first-century burial cave. The symbol of this paralysis sits on a ledge, the immovable ladder. This cedar ladder has rested there for over a century. No single faction has the universal permission required by the status quo to move it, so it stays. Under the status quo, taking action requires an impossible consensus. Doing nothing is the only safe option, effectively freezing the building's physical state in time to prevent conflict. The status quo regulates the hours of the day as strictly as it divides the floor tiles. This clock represents how the 24-hour cycle is carved into exact blocks, forcing the factions into a daily timeshare. Each denomination is block-booked to pray in specific areas, down to the minute. When schedules overlap in shared areas, they sometimes play their pipe organs or chant at top volume to drown each other out. This strict schedule applies to the visitors, too. The public cannot enter the central tomb of Jesus until exactly 8:30 in the morning, right after the Catholic Franciscans finish the final morning prayer slot. This hyper-specific, bureaucratic timeshare is the only mechanism that keeps these rival clergy from erupting into physical brawls over who gets to pray where. Geopolitical gridlock and interchurch rivalries aside, the status quo achieves its main goal. It keeps the doors open for the millions of believers who travel here. These pilgrims are seeking a physical, tactile connection to history. They kneel to rub personal items, like scarves and wedding rings, against the stone of anointing, attempting to absorb the holiness of the site where Jesus' body was prepared for burial. As they try to take some of that holiness home, they also leave a piece of themselves behind. The walls are covered in centuries of spiritual graffiti, including thousands of these elaborate Armenian stone crosses, called kachkars, carved directly into the ancient masonry. Because the status quo forces strict preservation, the building hasn't been sterilized or modernized. It allows people today to experience the same raw, unpolished connection to the stones as the pilgrims who arrived here 1,000 years ago. The climax of this journey involves standing shoulder to shoulder in a massive, chaotic line. Visitors wait for hours, holding lit candles and inching their way toward the tiny central structure known as the edicule. After navigating the turf wars, the overlapping music, and the endless lines, pilgrims step inside the tomb to look at absolutely nothing. It is a completely empty room. That emptiness is the entire point. For the faithful, the absence of a body is the proof of the resurrection. This massive, deeply divided building ultimately exists to protect an empty space.